Welcome, everyone. Welcome to our webinar. This is Walt Hampton,
And I'm Ann Shibani.
and we are Summit Success, where we empower extraordinary businesses and extraordinary lives. This is our mid-year webinar, Get Back on Track, How to Rally in the Second Half.
Woohoo! Second half. It is the middle of June, which I find a little bit alarming.
Yes, and one of the things that we've been working on recently with our Inner Circle coaching clients is getting them to review their goals and progress for the year so that we can keep them moving forward into the second half of the year to make it their best year yet. And we've had the opportunity to review some of our own goals and how we've done as well. And it occurred to us that we wanted to share with all of you some of the ideas and resources that we share with our clients that might enable you to also assess where you've been and where you want to go so that you can, even though we are 6 months into the year, there's still plenty of time to rock this year.
Yeah, and the thing is, we're students of our own lives, and we've got, we're blessed with having access and close contacts with people and seeing how they're doing in their lives, what's working for them, what's not working for them. And we're like, it's time to share this. It's time to share what we're learning and spread the tools and tips and strategies that are going to make you rock the second half this year.
So let's just lead off with the obvious problem. The obvious problem is that for good or for bad, the fact of the matter is that it's almost halfway through the year. And can you believe it? It just doesn't really seem possible because for us, seems like yesterday that we were sitting around drafting our goals at the end of December for this year. And the problem is once you draft these goals, so often life intervenes and we find ourselves in the weeds. And you're probably aware of the grim statistics that most people in the universe don't even bother making resolutions anymore, New Year's resolutions, because they're so jaded with how they work out. I think the statistics last I looked were somewhere around 18 to 22% of folks even bothered to make New Year's resolutions.
They get tired of failing. They get tired of them not working out. So they don't even set them because they don't want to set themselves up for disappointment again.
And then, of course, of the 20% or so who do make resolutions, they end up abandoning them 6 weeks into the year. It's one of the reasons that we ran our 6-week masterclass back at the beginning of the year to give people that traction they needed to move forward. And what so often happens is that by the end of January, certainly by the middle of February, life really has gotten in the way and people completely fall off the track. And I think it's really the reason that we're not big fans of resolutions per se.
Now, we're big fans of setting goals and constantly checking back in and measuring how you're doing on these goals.
Which is why we wanted to plan this webinar today, which is to empower you, to inspire you to get back on track. And so what we want to share with you during this short hour is tools, tips, and strategies that we use, that we've used over time, that we know are successful in our busy lives, tools, tips, and strategies that we share with our business clients, with our Inner Circle private coaching clients, things that we know work. They're simple tools, as Jim Rohn might have said, but not necessarily easy to apply in the midst of life, but we want to give you some structure that will allow you, if you've fallen off the track, to get back on track and to seize the day and to seize the rest of the year in order to make it magnificent.
So I've got to ask you a question. Do you ever just feel like throwing your hands up in the air and saying, just screw it? It's not happened. I haven't done what I said I'm going to do. This is just proof positive that I'm a crappy human being. Do you ever just feel like throwing your hands up in the air?
Yeah, of course. I think all of us do. And sometimes we get frustrated and demoralized along the way, particularly if we've bitten off too big a chunk, or if we've had life issues intervene, and we do want to throw up our hands in the air. And that's another reason that we wanted to put together this webinar, is to help people who have been in that place to reclaim the time that's left in this year. So I want to ask you, how are you doing with your goals this year?
Well, you know, we go on a morning run every single morning. That's why we call them morning runs, of course. And we get to about a mile within the house, and we ask ourselves this question. So what number grade would you give this run? You know, would it be an 80? Would it be a 90? You know, how would you judge this run? And so we're used to giving ourselves numerical values. And I would say, looking at this being June, looking at what goals I set for myself at the end of December, I'd give myself about an 80. I'd say an 80. I'm not.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not. You know, you and I are different because you tend to just say I'm fabulous. I'll give myself a 98. But I tend to be a little bit harder on myself. I have a higher expectations, and I haven't met them very well. Some of the things I'm like right on target. Some things I'm close to being on target. I was going to finish my one book by my birthday, which was June 6th. I've got another chapter to go. And so, you know,
So what's been your biggest challenge in attaining? So one of the things, just so you know, one of the things that we do, one of the things that we require of our Inner Circle coaching clients to do, is to sit down at the end of the year in December and spend many hours. Actually, it's a pretty detailed exercise of setting out the 5 big goals that you want to accomplish in the year ahead. And there's all sorts of ancillary assessment and unpacking that goes along with it. So you and I each set aside 5 big mega goals this year.
We did.
What's gotten in the way for you?
Well, number one, you're very competitive, so you keep throwing like tasks at me, so I can't get to my work. And that, being a people pleaser, I keep responding to what you ask of me. So I let you.
That sounds like victim talk
I let
to me.
you
but
get. I let
just
you
saying.
let you
Just
get
saying.
in my way. But you know, part of it is I get really, really good at putting systems into place, and when I walk away from my systems, when I say, yeah, everything's going smoothly, I really don't have to keep the foot on the pedal. I can coast for a while. Then the car completely slows down and comes to a dead halt, and I'm standing there wondering why it's not going by itself anymore.
So one of the things that we talked about doing when we were ready to launch this is, along with our own private coaching clients, we pulled out our written sheet from back in December, and that seems like it might have been a challenge for you.
It was a little problematic for me because I couldn't find it again.
Okay, so how does that impact you?
Because if I don't have my goals right up front, if I'm not looking at them, if I'm not seeing evidence of them, I forget. I get so caught up with, you know, the stuff I'm doing. You know, I've got lots of day-to-day stuff, lots of demands. I'm like building this thing, and I forget. I forget what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, and I just start falling into the everyday, got to get this urgent thing done, not the important thing.
And of course, it's one of the reasons that we are such big believers in creating vision boards. You know, we've got a beautiful vision board in our master bedroom area where we're able to see visual pictures of some of our big audacious goals that we have. And it is absolutely true that keeping your goals front of mind, keeping your goals always in view, is a big piece of staying on track. So I would give myself a higher rating.
Why?
I'd go, well, I set as one of my big goals to finish 2 books this year by September 1st, and on May 1st I published my 2nd book. I've got 1 more book to do this year, and I'm really excited about that. I'm proud of that. It's The Power Principles of Time Mastery: How to Do Less, Make More, and Have Fun. So I felt like I focused on that and got that done. I have some goals that are still in process, that the deadlines haven't come and gone yet. We've got this leadership retreat coming up in Ireland that we've set as a big business goal. That's
huge.
We're pretty excited about that. If you don't know about that and you want to spend 4 or 5 days with high-level folks, you need to be in touch with us about that. It's very exciting. So that's been a business goal. Of course, the other book is in process, and I have some fitness goals.
Yeah, let's talk about your ultra marathon.
Yeah,
you
well, that's
going to do that somehow has not materialized.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about how to make goals actionable and concrete, and that's a goal that I did not get actionable and concrete on. And even more than that, we'll talk a little bit more about the why behind goals. I don't think I had a big enough why for that. I haven't written that off, but as part of my mid-year review, I am reviewing that goal and reassessing that goal, and I'm going to recommit to that goal. But I haven't accomplished it for exactly the reason you said. My why wasn't big enough, and I hadn't set it out in a concrete enough way.
We're gonna talk about SMART goals
yeah,
now,
we are.
I think.
No, not yet, because what I want to pose for the folks who are listening to this webinar is the question we've been asking each other, which is, how are you doing? And the question presumes an underlying question, which is, did you have something that you set out with this year? And either answer is okay as you enter into this webinar time with us. Either you had some goals that you started out with this year that have become fuzzy, or you've gotten frustrated with, or you've thrown up your hands over, or you didn't have any and you'd like to have some. And so either place is okay, but how are you doing? Are you on track or off track? Presumes that there was a track to start with.
Yes, January 1st is not the single only day that you can actually set your intentions or your goals. You can actually set one on, say, like June 18th.
Yes, say June 18th
reasonable.
Or June 19th. And that's the beautiful part. I'm glad you said that, because so many times we see folks get discouraged and throw up their hands, and every day is the opportunity to begin again.
Yeah, the thought is, I've just murdered 6 months of my life. I've wasted it.
Nothing's wasted.
I'm a failure. Why not just stay on the couch and eat donuts? Because I've just messed it up entirely.
Nothing wasted, because no matter where you are, you get to start in this place and you get to make it magnificent. And so just the question is, to kind of assess and deep dive in your own life to see whether or not you had something concrete, and unpacking that is going to be important, as we'll talk a little bit later in the review section. Or if you didn't, now's the time. And so as we go forward now, the question is, what now? Let's forget about the past. The past is the past. I talk about the wake of a boat. Sometimes people get so caught up in their stories about why something didn't happen. As coaches, that's the realm of therapy. As coaches, we don't really care about the stories. The stories might be interesting to a therapist, but just like the wake behind a motorboat, your stories are old stuff. And what we want to empower and create is, where are we going now? Where's that boat taking you now? Where is that engine taking you now? And what do we need to do to get this train back on the track to make the rest of this year just magnificent?
I need to get my boat back on track. I need to get my train back on track.
All right.
I do.
So we're going to tell our listeners the 5 things that they need to do. What you need to do are just 5 things. And as I said earlier, the 5 things are almost self-evident. They're simple, but they're not always easy to do, which is why we want to spend this time to kind of review them and hardwire them for you. Just 5 things, and they're part of our Clarity coaching program that we use with our coaching clients, with our inner circle, with many of our business clients. And the acronym we use is CLEAR.
And that's spelled, in case you're blind, and then then we'll talk about that, where to go for help for that. But you want to get clear. CLEAR, clear.
All right. And so the first place to start, of course, is to get clear.
Clear. The C part, the cuff of the clear.
The CP part. And the clear piece is multi-layered. In the grand scheme is, you know, where are you going in your life? Where are you going in your business? Where are you going in your relationships, in your health and wellness, in your finances? Where are you going? You know, and what's interesting is when we're young, we all have a vision. We all have an idea of where we're going. You know, one of the most common questions we ask a little kid is, what do you want to be when you grow up? And of course, most people know, you know, I want to be a doctor or a nurse or a firefighter or an astronaut or a secret agent. And we have these grand visions when we're young of what we want to be when we grow up and where we want to go and who we want to be with and how we want to travel and adventure around the world. And somewhere along the way, and I think it's probably, you know, mid to late 20s.
It was 1978 for
Was
me.
that what
Yeah,
it was for you?
1978.
Well, somewhere along the way, you know, we get busy in our lives. You know, we get out of school, we take on student loans, we buy a house, we get a mortgage, we got car loans or car leases. And we're busy building our careers, and we lose the horizon. We lose that grand vision of where we're going. And so one of the challenges in our adult lives is getting connected again with our destination. Where is it that we want to end up in the week, in the month, in the year, in our lives?
Yeah, and a lot of people who have been caretakers for years and years, and I'm talking to, you know, particularly women, there's certainly men out there who would qualify as caretakers. You spend enough years taking care of other people, you actually forget what you want. You forget about your dreams, you forget about what rocks your world, and it's, you know, a lot of folks are pretty embarrassed about it, but it's pretty natural. It's
Yes,
pretty natural.
yeah, losing the horizon is natural, it's easy, and the challenge is to reclaim the horizon, reclaim the destination. You know, those of you who have traveled or like to travel, you likely wouldn't wander down to the airport after the webinar and wander up to an American Airlines ticket counter and say, give me a ticket. They'd look at you a little askew and they'd say, well, sir, madam, we're happy to give you a ticket, but where do you want to go? And if you were feeling particularly anxious or indecisive, you might say, I want to go to Barcelona or Orlando or San Francisco or just somewhere. And they'd say, well, sir, madam, that's great, but which one? And getting clear on what that destination is critical. You know, when you jump in your car and you fire up your late model Beamer and your GPS comes on, it wants a destination. And if you plug that destination in, if you dial that destination in, with absolute certainty, it will get you there within 30 feet.
Yeah, but here's what else that GPS system wants. That GPS system wants to know where you are now. And so many of us are so reluctant to get very clear about what we are now because it requires us standing on a scale or going through our credit cards and, you know, tallying up the debt or seeing how much money we are actually making in our business or not. And that reality check is something that a lot of folks are really reluctant to do, and that's where we kind of kick in as coaches.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of people attend a lot of emotionality to that piece, and our mentor, I had the great honor of training and working with Tony Robbins, and we've done a lot of work together as a couple with Tony and Tony's business. Tony says, see things as they are, not worse than they are, not better than they are, but get grounded, get clear in what's real, because as Ann says, the GPS, if it's going to get you to your destination, requires 2 points. We forget that it actually assimilates that as you're sitting in your driveway, but you plug in your destination and it also picks up your current location. And so to get to your destination, to get within 30 feet of where you want to go, you need to have a pretty clear idea of exactly where you are.
Yeah, you got to stand on the scale.
Another layer, which is critical, and we lose sight of this piece of the horizon as well, is what our core values are. And the core values piece is incredibly important in the clarity step of our program. You know, one of the things I love to ask new clients to do is to hold a piece of paper landscape-wise, and on the left-hand side of the piece of paper, write the top 5 things they truly value. To write down what their core values are, and it could be, you know, health and wellness, relationships, family. It could be travel, it could be adventure, you know, whatever it is, the top 5 values. And then on the right-hand side, I ask folks to rate the top 5 places that they spend their time on. And there's not any problem with one list or the other. The problem, the challenge is in the incongruity between what we say we value and where we spend our time.
So what are your top values?
My top
core values.
Yeah, my top core values. Number 1 is health and wellness, and number 2 is our relationship together.
Right, so number one seems to be your wellness and fitness over your relationship with me.
Yes, yes, that's true. And I'll tell you why.
Okay.
We have a whole other webinar on this. Perhaps
we do. We have another webinar.
Perhaps
on
you
this.
missed that webinar.
Oh.
I will send you the link to this webinar.
Okay, excellent.
So why that's true is this, and you know, we've heard audience people ask this question, is that unless we take care of ourselves, unless I show up in my highest and best self, with my wellness taken care of, I can't serve you. I can't serve our relationship. I
want you serving me.
Yes, well, I get that. So yes. I want to do it well.
Excellent.
But it requires us to self-nurture. I gave a keynote this morning to a group of risk managers who are busy serving out in the world. And when we do just that and we don't take care of ourselves first, we end up depleted and empty and not able to make the impact in the world. So I'm not saying my core values should be everybody's core values. We each have them. What's important in this clarity step is to get clear about what your core values are, because it will become, as you'll see as we go along, a way to filter your decisions in our next step.
Okay, are we going to talk about the next step? Because
well,
I don't know. What should
I think we can go on.
Yeah, let's go on
to the next step. Which is once, well, this is part of
another layer.
Yeah, this is the same layer of step 1. To once you know your destination, once you know what your core values are, is to recommit to those goals. Or if you're showing up today, as is perfectly fine, is to own and get clear on where you want to go, what those goals are.
I love the idea of recommitting, because at the beginning of the year, my goal was to lose 10 or 12 pounds, and I lost the 10 or 12 pounds. Thrilled, because one of my core values is my health and fitness. It's really important, and it was a very specific goal. I wanted to lose 12 pounds, except we kind of went to Ireland and got a lot into trouble with cheese, and I put on probably 6 or 7 pounds back. And so I have 2 choices right now. I can completely throw my hands up in the air and say, you know, screw it. I just destroyed myself.
Krispy Kremes on the couch for the rest of the year.
Just get the cheese out. I'm going to town. Or I can put the paw brakes down and say, all right, I'm going to recommit. I'm going to go back to it. I know what works, and I'm going to take this off again. And it's a matter of me making that decision that I'm not going to throw up my hands, that I'm actually going to attend to it. So I'm recommitted.
So let's talk about what the process of recommitting looks like, and it's similar to our setting our intention at the beginning of the years. If we're going to get to that destination, to that GPS point, to Orlando or San Francisco or Barcelona, we've actually got to make these goals what we call SMART goals. Mm-hmm. They've got to be S-M-A-R-T. They've got to be specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and time-defined. And this is one of the things that we work a lot with in our online program and with our clients on, is drilling down into their goals and making them smart. And so let's just talk about
that's totally the next slide. I'm like so upset that it's not up there.
What, is it the next slide?
Yes,
is it really? We'll go up on the next slide. I don't think it is. No, it's the next step.
All right.
So you're way ahead of me. Let's go back to SMART goals here.
Oh my God.
Because this is important. It's a step that a lot of people gloss over. And I don't want to gloss over that piece. So a SMART goal, so let's just take, you're at this point in time and you're saying to yourself, well, one of my goals that I'm going to recommit to is my health and wellness this year. That's great. That's a wonderful goal to have, but it's not a SMART goal. Anne has a weight loss goal, so let's use that let's use Anne as an example.
I love that when I'm the center.
So yes, you're going to be the center of this example. So how much weight do you want to lose? between now and whenever? Let's start with the amount of weight you want to lose.
So I want to lose 1 pound per week.
Okay, but I want to know I want to know overall how much weight you want to lose.
10 pounds.
10 pounds. So that's specific.
That's very specific.
That's a specific goal. It's not, I just want to lose some weight.
I just want the lard off.
Yeah, it's not that.
Yeah.
I mean, you do, but it's a specific goal.
Right.
It's 10 pounds. And so, you know, if it's cholesterol, you know, you could make it 10 points off your cholesterol. If it's blood pressure, you want to lower your blood pressure by 10 points. If it's money, I want to make $50,000 more this year. If it's debt, I want to reduce my debt by $10,000 this year. So it's specific. And it's it's measurable. It's actually something you can go and put a metric to. So you can stand on the scale.
I stand on the scale, and every week I stand on the scale, and I see whether or not I'm meeting my weekly goal.
And then, you know, if it's a financial goal, you can look in your bank account. Is the money coming in? If it's a debt reduction goal, you can look at your credit card. Is it going down? It's measurable. The A piece is actionable. Can you actually take specific action in order to get there?
Oh, I sure know how to do that.
Yes.
I know how to do that.
So in the financial examples, in your weight loss examples, there are actions that you can actually take.
Right. Eliminate cheese, for instance.
That's an action. That would be a good action for you.
That's a great action. Eliminate cheese.
The R piece is where a lot of people get into trouble with. You know, they make a great goal, and it may be kind of smart, but it's not really smart because they've left out the R, and that is it realistic? You know, I'm a great believer that anything is possible, that we can achieve anything that we set our minds and hearts to, and we need to do it in a way that we don't discourage and demoralize ourselves. You know, when I stand at the base of a big mountain and look up, the mountain looks pretty huge. I remember, Ann, when we were running that Vermont 50 Ultra Marathon, I got to that mile 32 station. We had only trained up to 30 miles because that's what you train on in ultra marathons. I looked at the map ahead and I just completely came unwound. I thought, how can I run another 18 miles?
Yes.
And then I looked at the you know, the next way station, and it was 4 miles. And I said to myself, well, I can run 4 miles. I've run 4 miles plenty of times. And then I looked at my next way station, and that was 3.5 miles. And I said to myself, I can run 3.5 miles. And so let's go back to the weight loss goal.
Well, let me talk about the realistic, because part of the problems of our society is we think we're supposed to be able to accomplish things overnight. There's a pill that we can take that will allow us to lose 10 pounds overnight, 10 pounds in a week. So a realistic goal is 10 pounds in 10 weeks. That's realistic.
Yeah, so, you know, we have some clients who are working on some big weight loss goals, you know, 100+ pounds, and that's beautiful. We honor those. But, you know, let's keep it realistic. You know, can you do a ½ pound a week? Could you do a pound a week? A pound a week over 50 weeks, if you're consistent, is a lot.
It's like 10 slices of cheese.
It's a lot of progress over the course of the time, as long as you make it realistic. And then, of course, the T piece is a time-bound, time-specific. You know, when I first started my speaking career, I thought a lot about speaking, and I thought thinking a lot about having a speaking career.
You did.
And I thought a lot about thinking about it. We talked a lot about it. And I was working with a coach then, and I said to him, you know, what is the next step? And he said, well, book a speaking engagement. And I said, well, I don't have anything to speak on yet. He says, book a speaking engagement. I said, I haven't put the PowerPoints together yet. He said, book a speaking engagement. I will tell you, once I put that on the calendar, it was time for some serious action. There is nothing like a date on the calendar to get you going. And, you know, it's one of the beautiful things about having a race date or a travel plan to go off to a big mountain, or a product launch date that you've shared with your accountability partners or your coaches or your family or your friends. You got a time-specific date that you've got to show up and do the work, and that's powerful.
See, just so you know, most people don't have a travel date to go to a mountain. Most people think of a travel date as this is when you're going to go to the Bahamas. This is when you're going to catch your cruise ship and wherever.
Of course, that's one of the challenges in working with Ann Shabani and Walt Hampton as coaches or mentors, is that we have very skewed,
yes,
skewed
right.
views.
So most people are like nervous, going, oh, like
but
a mountain.
we
what?
promise that if you ever worked with us, we would not make you run ultramarathon.
We won't make you do that, I swear.
All right, so now we're on to step 2. I know you were eager to get here.
I am. Look at the drawing the line in the sand.
Yes, so the L piece is lines and limitations, because once you know what you want, once you're clear about your destination, once you know how your goals have been defined as SMART goals and you have a time deadline that you're getting there, and you know that your goals are in accordance with what you value most, then it's time to draw the line around those so that all of the minutia of the world don't come in to challenge them. And that can be very, very challenging. And yet, you know, many business writers, Jim Collins, Good to Great, says, you know, you need to say no to the merely good in order to say yes to the truly great in your life. And there's lots of shiny toys. I wrote a recent blog article about shiny toys. I love, you know, the latest and greatest in social media and marketing and advertising and launch platforms and droids and iPads and all. Lots of shiny toys to chase in the world. There's lots of good things to chase in the world, and yet once we know what we really, really, truly want, you know, I said to you before, I really, truly believe that we can do anything. We just can't do it all at once, and so we need to get clear about what we want and then draw a line about what we don't want.
Yeah, see, and I want to interject here because you get a little carried away. You get very excited about this.
I do.
Saying, you know, it's about saying no to other people and their, you know, their emergencies and all of the requirements they have of you. And it's also about saying no to yourself. You know, and it's really easy to get caught up in, as Walt calls it, the, you know, the silver dollar is shining out there. We're driving past a car dealership. We see this gorgeous Mercedes-Benz. It's super cheap. It's like $15,000, and we think, shoot, we could just go in there and buy it cash. And it just takes a minute to run through our goals and our values to decide that that doesn't actually fit into either our goals or our values, and it can
at the moment, right now.
At the moment, and it takes away from what we actually want to be accomplishing right now. So
it distracts.
It distracted us, and then we were brought back to just looking at what our goals are, knowing what our values are, saying now's not the time, not now.
And it can be not no never. It can be no not right now. And the no is such a powerful thing. If you can get good at saying no to what's not working. You know, I love the Pareto principle. We talk about it with our business clients all the time. Vincenzo Pareto was a Italian economist who happened to be a pea pod gardener as well, and he looked into his garden and he saw that 20% of his pea pods yielded 80% of his peas, and he actually became pretty curious about that formula, and he went out and he looked around the Italian geography and discovered that 20% of the people owned 80% of the land. And he actually then expanded this hypothesis across the board, and it's been shown to be pretty reliable that 20% of your customers yield 80% of your revenue, 20% of your clients yield 80% of your income, 20% of your clients yield 80% of your headaches, 20% of your efforts lead to 80% of your outcomes. And if that's true, if Pareto is true, wouldn't it be nice to just to focus on the 20% that really yields the 80% and say no to all of the rest? And there's such power in paring down to what's essential to your goals, to your dreams, to your aspirations, paring down what's not in congruity with your core values. So no is very powerful. No is complicated. No is hard.
Right, because I can barely say no, I'm not going to the post office without you getting all in a kerfuffle. Okay?
Well, and people have expectations that you will say yes. And we like to say yes. To be asked to do something, to sit on a board, to become involved in a charity, to bake for the bake sale for the PTO, to step up and do something. It feels nice to be asked. But when we say yes to everything, we get stretched too
Yes,
thin, and that's the biggest problem in our society right now.
And like so many of these topics, we have an entire teleseminar on this very topic because it requires skill. It is an art form.
And we call the program the art of saying no. And there is an art to say no, but it is in terms of the L piece in the Clarity Coaching program, the ability to say no. And getting good at saying no will skyrocket your success. And so, if you were to work with us or get involved in our online training program, we would deep dive into the art of saying no and how you go about saying no so that you can protect your boundaries and really turbocharge your success.
This is super, super important for anybody who would consider themselves a nice person, a people pleaser, because this is where we fall down on the job.
And because that's an area that a lot of folks gravitate to you on that.
Yep.
Because you've become very good at it.
I've become good, but I was not born saying no very easily. You came out of the womb saying no.
Yeah, I did. I'm much better at it.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm saying no to that step and moving on to step number 3 of our Clarity Coaching program, the E piece, and that's embracing empowering practices. Embracing empowering practices. Practices are everything. It is the key to achieving the goals over time. And by practices, we mean a number of things. We mean the routines that you dial in, the disciplines that you adopt, the systems, and we'll deep dive into each of these for at least a minute or so, the practices that you take on, the accountability partners that you surround yourself with, the coaches that you get involved with, or the mentors that you have. Success leaves clues. So many times people come to us with this great envy that somebody has achieved this success and they want it too. And one of the things I suggest to people too is, I would call them up and ask them how they did it, because usually overnight successes, people who are really successful have had a long road, and that long road has left clues as to what works and doesn't work.
Well, I want to touch on routines because I think that's one of our saving graces. It's one of the things that has allowed us to do, to accomplish a lot. And one of our routines is every morning at 5:30 we are up, we have a cup of coffee, and we are out the door for our morning run. And it is something that we do day in and day out. We know specifically what days we're going to be running. There's no question about it.
There's no negotiation.
There's no negotiation.
We plan when we can. We plan our travel around it. And part of my routine, as you know, before I even come in at 5:30 with your coffee.
Oh, you're showing off. You're such a show off. It's so gross.
Is before that, I'm up at 4:30, and I spend an hour journaling, meditating, writing. That's my routine.
All right, and my routine is to get an extra hour of sleep. And that is my routine. It's a very nice routine.
I want to honor that routine.
It's a nice routine.
But we're up at 5:30. We have a cup of coffee. We stretch out, and we're out the door.
Right. And one of the things that you have over me is as this example is a perfect example is you are much more disciplined than I am. I consider myself a disciplined human being. But you are very disciplined. You easily say no to yourself. You easily say no to others, and you do what you know is right for you. Which I will tell you,
but I will go back to our earlier discussion about my number one core value. And what I know is if I don't have these disciplines and routines for myself, I can't show up in the world and serve one another in a powerful way. I can't take care of our kids in a powerful way. I can't take care of our coaching clients in a powerful way. I can't show up in a room, at an event, at a talk in a powerful way unless I've done these routines for myself.
Your disciplines, yeah.
These disciplines. Systems, really important. Systems are key to keeping things working.
I think for me, I will lose weight every single time when I track what I eat on the Spark People system. I open it up, I plug in what I eat, I see what my calorie count is for the day, and it is a system that works repeatedly for me. And so when I walk away from that system, the whole thing goes just belly up. It goes
belly meaning a double entendre.
Yeah, like kitty belly up. Belly up.
Another part of that system, though, that health and wellness system that we have, is how you and I, after our hour of power, one of the things we have our Inner Circle doing is every Sunday doing weekly planning,
which is a practice. It's one of the practices that we have.
But part of the system that we've created around our health and wellness is after that is to sit down and actually plan out what our meals are going to be for the week ahead, and then what we're going to put on our grocery list, and then we go out together and we shop that list. That's a system and a practice we have, and the result of that is what we bring into our home, what we bring into our office is really good food.
If you bring in chocolate chip cookies into this house,
I am all over those.
They would not last.
It would be ugly because I would fight you for them.
I would fight you for it. I would fight you for them.
I would take you down.
The other thing is that is really, really helpful is to have accountability partners, and you and I are each other's best accountability buddies.
Yes, we do that for each other.
We see what's going on. We see what's working. We call each other on our shit, and a lot of people have the opportunity. They have partners that will do this for them. You reach out to people with similar goals. You say, "Hey, come on, let's hold each other accountable." They're out there, for the grabbing, and it's a matter of reaching out and asking for help and asking for that relationship.
Yes, and also in the coaching realm, you and I have been coaches for a long time now, but good coaches have coaches, and we have wonderful coaches.
Yes.
And it's about accountability. It's if I make a commitment to my business coach or my life coach and I don't show up having done what I've said I'm going to do, I'm called on that.
Yes.
And having your feet held to the fire, getting new ideas about systems and routines and things that work from our coaches have certainly turbocharged our business over the course of time.
And we seek out mentors. We seek out people who have paved the way, who are wise in ways that we wish to learn about, and we pay the money. We go to webinars, we go to workshops, we seek these teachers out, these mentors.
And it's critical that personal growth, that professional growth, lifelong learning. I'm excited. We're going this weekend to a program out at Omega, and that type of ongoing mentorship and personal professional development is absolutely key to dial in as part of the overall empowering practices that you have. And here's the scoop. There aren't any people failures. Nobody's broken. Nobody needs to be fixed. There are no people failures.
Nobody's a complete and utter loser because they haven't followed through yet.
Yes, there are no people failures, just systems failures. If something's not working for you right now, all you need to do is figure out a better system. And we help people figure out better systems all the time. Once we put a better system in place, their success skyrockets.
So I want you to get in touch with this, that you are not in fact a complete failure.
Thank you. I've been struggling with that, as you might be able to tell.
Yes.
So the bottom line here with this step is dial in your system, find your system, find what works,
and practice it consistently.
And then you actually got to do something.
Shit,
I know.
hate that.
Yeah, you get into your beautiful late model Lexus in your driveway, and you've been admiring it for weeks, and sometimes you've actually gotten close enough to stick the key in the ignition. But at a certain point in time, you got to turn the key in the ignition. You got to start the car, and you got to actually drive out of the driveway go someplace.
I love the folks, and I include myself in this category, who read diet book after diet book after diet book, and the theories are so good. And then there comes a point in time where you actually have to choose what you're going to do and do it.
Yes, we have this among many of our coaching clients have struggled with over time. You and I have struggled with it over time. I wrote a blog about it recently called Moving the Deck Chairs.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of times when somebody will think about a new career or a new business or a new enterprise or a new product, they'll be futzing around in the universe with developing logos
and
branding or building websites or researching, or here's the scoop: at some point in time you just got to take action. I say to our clients, better done than perfect. You can always perfect it along the way, but time goes by too fast. Think about how fast this year has gone. Time goes too fast not to take action on your hopes and dreams and aspirations. And when you get stuff out in the world, you begin to refine it. You begin to see what works in the midst of the action. It is in the taking of the action that you can see whether your system is working or not working. If you're simply sitting around thinking about your system and never testing the system out in the world, you'll never know. So you got to get out in the world. You got to test what works, what doesn't work, what people are responding to, what people aren't responding to. How you're showing up will give immediate feedback to you as to what you need to do next.
Right, and don't buck the feedback. Make friends with reality, make friends with the feedback, and, you know, get over it for shizzle.
So small, consistent steps are absolutely key in this. You know, we talked earlier about the R piece of the SMART goal, realistic. It is in those small, consistent steps that we create the magnificent result. You know, Darren Hardy of Success Magazine uses the metaphor of the old campground pump, where he says, you know, you send the kid out to get water, and they pump and they pump and they pump, and nothing comes out. And they pump some more, and nothing comes out, and they pump some more, and nothing comes out, and pretty soon they're pretty tired, and maybe a little tiny trickle comes out, and then they quit, and they come back with the empty bucket. And so often that's what we do in our own lives.
Well, can I add something? Sometimes we get that water really gushing out, and then we stop pumping because the water's gushing out. We don't have to try so hard, and we stop, and we think we lose the prime, and then
so
we're like, what happened?
So either we don't pump long enough, which is so often the key. We stop just shy of the big breakthrough. We stop just shy of the win. The big win,
and other times
because we're tired.
Then other times we stop pumping altogether, thinking we don't have to do it anymore because it's kind of easy, and we think, you know, that the easy part is the maintenance, and then we let our hand up.
Yeah, and you know, Jim Collins in Good to Great speaks to that in that wonderful phrase, the undisciplined pursuit of more, where you got the pump handle going and you turn your eyesight away from that pump handle because you want some other shiny toy, and you do exactly what you've said, is you stop doing what's already successful, and you lose that prime.
I'm guilty.
You lose your,
I am so guilty.
We're all guilty of that. We teach what we most need to know, and so staying at it. You know, the truth is that it is in the small steps. I think about it in the marathoning. I think about it in the mountain climbing. If you look up the whole mountain and you over 30-day period and say, I can never climb a big mountain like that, well, you can take the next step. You can take the next step, and you can keep on taking the next step, and that's absolutely key to be able to do. So step 5 of our clarity coaching system, of the CLEAR system, is the
can I say it? It's the review, repeat, and revise, which is sort of what we're doing right now.
Yes, and it's it's what we call on our clients to do at this time of year. We actually do it in each of our coaching sessions. Review, revise, repeat, lather, rinse, repeat. The truth is that certain things in our lives are working, and we need to acknowledge what's working, and when it's working, we need to keep on doing it. Keeping on doing what is working is a good strategy. If it's not working, we need to analyze it as what in this system has broken down. What do we need to change in this system in order to get things flowing again? What different practices, what mentorship do I need to seek out? Who do I need to ask? What personal development program would benefit for me? Is there a coach who specializes in this so that I can get back on track? But constantly going through that whole revising piece is what's key to getting us to our goal. You know, a plane traveling from San Francisco to Honolulu is off course most of the time, but the automatic pilot and the GPS working together constantly bring it back on course. You know, if you get off course as you're on a trip between New York and Chicago, your GPS will say recalculated.
I love that. I love it when it says that.
Yeah, and that's great. You know, if you got stuck in Toledo and you really wanted to go to Chicago, you wouldn't simply throw up your arms and say, damn, you know, I'm in Toledo and I have no idea how to get to Chicago for this great meeting, so I'm just going to give up. you would look at your GPS and you'd see, well, how do I get back on track? You'd allow it to recalculate.
Yes, here's the deal. It's I look at the weight loss thing. All right, I put on 7 pounds. Am I going to keep traveling down the wrong road? It's saying recalculate, recalculate. Will I continue to travel down the wrong road until I'm in, St. Louis? Or am I going to turn it around and start heading back, double tracking, and then heading the right direction? I mean, that's really the only two options. Or you could stop completely and
and we all get off track. Every single one of us gets off track, and the key is not to get discouraged, but to see what's working, what systems aren't working, and to put in place then what needs to happen. So we have, I told you that was just 5 steps, but there is actually a 6th piece as well that we want to share with you momentarily. But I would be remiss if I didn't share with you a easy way that might provide you with some concrete guidance over the next 6 weeks to get back on track. Ann and I have a 6-week online masterclass that we know has served folks in the past. We know that it provides the deep dive into each of these steps. It will give you guidance to develop the vision and the goals, to make your goals smart.
Yeah, it requires that you take the time to be thinking through some of these and answering them for yourself, because so many of us get into the habit of just kind of going on, sounds good, and until you're actually sitting down and thinking and putting the answers in for yourself, it just remains vague and amorphous.
It remains theory. This is a very concrete 6-week class. We send you a module every week for 6 weeks. It's got a great manual that goes with it. It's got a lot of practical tools and templates that you can put into use immediately, without going to the expense of a coach or a mentorship or even a big seminar. It provides you with a concrete framework to move forward and to get back on track. I've popped in the offer in the sidebar down there. It's called My Best Year Yet Online Masterclass. It's kind of a no-brainer. It's $35 a week, and
the only thing else I would say is it's delivered in bite-sized chunks which are realistic.
Yes.
But let's move on to the next thing.
Well, but I forgot, and we forgot we were going to do this, so I want to mention this. We want people to take advantage of this, and so the first 5 people that jump on this offer, we're going to bonus. Is it okay?
Yeah,
we're going to bonus with an hour coaching class with us and a one-to-one private coaching.
Yeah.
And that's not an inexpensive bonus, but we want to induce you to get a program that provides you some structure. So I popped in the offer. It's $35 a week. Take advantage of it if you want to. If for some reason you can't click through on the link, I did test the link, but if you can't click through on the link for some reason,
email us.
Email us and we'll get you dialed in on that. But I do, before we finish up, want to talk about the forgotten step.
Oh,
and we're not good at this, Annie. We're just not good at this at all.
No.
The forgotten step is that in each and every day, we have successes. They might be little successes. They might be big successes. The secret sauce to keeping the momentum going, to keeping the progress going, to keeping yourself feeling up and optimistic and hopeful is to celebrate along the way. We're not good at this. I remember back, one of my grand lifetime goals was to stand on the summit of Mount McKinley, Denali, 20,320 feet. I was telling a group of seniors the other day that it took me 35 years to achieve that goal. You and I had the great privilege of standing there together in a beautiful midnight sun, together with our son. It was one of the grandest experiences of our lives. And we got back to Calcutta.
Yeah, we're not off that mountain 5 minutes. We're like, what else do we need to be doing?
Yeah, it was like we checked it off, and move on. And so many of us who are hard-driving, successful people are about the list, about checking off the goals, about moving on. And the truth is that, it's not about the destination. It's about who you become, who we become along the way. And so at each step of the way, we need to celebrate this magnificent life that we have. We need to celebrate the small wins and the big wins and the opportunity even to be on this journey. So we don't want you to ever forget the secret sauce, which is the celebration piece along the way. And I wanna finish with this invective, this invocation: never ever give up, no matter how discouraged you might be at any point in time.
And we get discouraged.
And we
get
all
so
do.
Discouraged.
We all do. We don't see the water coming out of the pump, and we want to quit. Never quit. I want to finish up with one of my very, very, very favorite stories. It's the story of Cliff Young. Some of you have heard me speak, have heard this story. Please forgive me for telling it again, but it's one of my favorites. Cliff Young was a 62-year-old potato farmer, and he showed up at the start line of one of the great granddaddies of all ultra marathons, the 544-mile Sydney to Melbourne ultra marathon, and he wanted to run this race, and he had never run a race before. And he shows up at the start line, and he wants to register for the race, and he shows up standing in his gumboots and his Wellingtons and a set of overalls, and they say, "Oh, I'm sorry, sir, you cannot register for this race. This race draws the elite of the world, the elite ultra marathoners. You've never run a race before." And Cliff says, "Well, you know, I chase sheep for a living. I can run this race. I know." So they go back and forth, and you know, finally, after all the lawyers and risk managers have signed off on this thing, and Cliff has signed all the releases, they relent and they allow Cliff, the 62-year-old potato farmer in overalls and gumboots, to start out. And out he goes. And if you Google him, if you YouTube him, you'll see this very cute shuffle. It's been known among racers as the Cliff Young shuffle, and he just shuffles along. Well, 5.5 days later, Cliff Young crosses the finish line of the 544-mile ultra marathon. He crosses the finish line, breaking the course record by 2 days. He crosses the finish line 10 hours ahead of his closest competition, who are the elite of the elite. Now, what's interesting about ultramarathoning is that if you do long races, you're generally told that you need to stop along the way. You nap, you take sustenance, you get some recovery time. Cliff didn't know you were supposed to stop. Cliff just kept on going. He just kept shuffling. He never gave up. He never quit. He won the race. And so will you. So will each of us. We can make this year, these lives we have, masterpieces. And that's what we wish for each of you.
And just so you know, we will make you an ultra marathoner. That's our whole goal. We just
No,
okay.
Don't tell our people this. We wish you much success in the rest of 2014. It can be your best year yet. We wish you much success in your businesses and your lives and your relationships, your health, your wellness, your finances. Never give up. Make it a masterpiece. Take care.
Bye.